You need to help your brother. Family comes first, Camila. I stared at my phone, reading the text message from my father for the fourth time. The audacity was breathtaking. My hands trembled as I sat at my kitchen table in Portland, Oregon, trying to process what he was asking. $3,200 for my brother's graduation party. Not a request. A demand. My name is Camila, and I'm 31 years old. I work as a physical therapist at a rehabilitation center downtown, and I'm a single mother to the most incredible 6-year-old boy named Theo. His father walked out before his first birthday, and honestly, that was probably the best thing that could have happened to us. What wasn't for the best was my own family's treatment of us over the years. I looked across the room at Theo, who was sprawling on the living room floor, coloring in his dinosaur book with intense concentration. His auburn hair fell across his forehead the way it always did when he was focused. He had no idea what had happened just 4 days ago. Or maybe he did, and he was just better at hiding his hurt than I gave him credit for. 4 days ago was Theo's 6th birthday party. I had sent invitations to my parents, my brother Brendan, and my younger sister Haley 6 weeks in advance. I called to confirm. I texted reminders. I even offered to arrange transportation if that was an issue, though they all lived within 25 minutes of my house. The party was supposed to start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I had rented a bounce castle with a superhero theme, ordered a custom Spider-Man cake that cost me nearly $200, and invited Theo's friends from kindergarten. I decorated the backyard myself, staying up until past midnight the night before, hanging streamers and setting up game stations. Theo kept asking when Grandpa and Grandma were coming, when Uncle Brendan would arrive. He wanted to show them his new scooter, the red one I'd saved for 3 months to buy. Every car that passed our street, he'd sprint to the window, pressing his little hands and nose against the glass. "Are they here yet, Mama?" My heart broke a little more each time I had to say no. "Not yet, buddy." By 2 o'clock, all his friends had arrived. The bounce castle was full of squealing children, the yard alive with laughter and chaos, but my family? Nothing. Not a call. Not a text. Complete radio silence. I called my mother. Straight to voicemail. I called my father. Same thing. Brendan didn't even have his red receipts on, so I couldn't tell if he'd seen my messages. Haley, who was 25 and still lived at home with our parents, sent a brief text around 3:30. "Sorry, something came up." Something came up. That was it. No explanation. No apology to Theo. Just those 3 words that felt like a slap across the face. I smiled through the party. Took photos. Helped Theo blow out his candles while all the kids sang. But inside, I was dying. Watching him glance at the driveway every few minutes, hope fading from his bright green eyes each time, was absolute torture. When the last guest left and I was cleaning up paper plates and frosting smears, Theo came up to me. His voice was so small, so fragile. "Mama, did I do something bad? Is that why they didn't come?" I pulled him into my arms, fighting back tears that threatened to spill over. "No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. Not a single thing." But sitting here now, reading my father's text demanding money for Brendan's graduation party, I realized something that hit me like cold water. This wasn't the first time. It wasn't even the second or third time. This was a pattern. And I had been too blind, too hopeful, too desperate for their approval to see it clearly. Last year, they had also skipped Theo's 5th birthday. My mother claimed she had a terrible migraine. My father said he had to work overtime. Brendan didn't respond at all. But 3 weeks later, when Brendan needed money for new tires on his truck, my father had called me directly, expecting me to contribute $400 because that's what family does. I had paid it. Like an absolute fool, I had paid it. The year before that, they came to Theo's 4th birthday party, but left after exactly 15 minutes because Haley wanted to go to the mall before it got too crowded. They hadn't even stayed long enough to watch him open presents or blow out his candles. I looked at my father's text again. The message was clinical. Transactional. Like I was a bank, not a daughter. "Brendan's graduation party is next month. We need $3,200 to cover the venue rental and catering. Your mother and I are contributing $1,800. You and Haley should split the rest evenly. Send $3,200 by Friday." The math didn't even make sense. If they were contributing $1,800 and Haley and I were splitting the rest, why would I owe $3,200? But that was typical of my father. Numbers were whatever he needed them to be to get what he wanted. I thought about my savings account. The one I had been slowly, painfully building for Theo's future. For emergencies. For the security we didn't have when his father left. $3,200 would wipe out nearly half of it. For a party. For my brother. The same brother who couldn't be bothered to show up for my son's birthday. Something hardened in my chest. A decision forming, sharp and clear like broken glass. I had spent my entire adult life trying to be the good daughter. The reliable one. The one who showed up and paid up and never complained. Where had it gotten me? Sitting alone at my kitchen table while my son asked if he'd done something wrong. I opened my banking app and stared at the screen for a long moment. My finger hovered over the amount field. Then I typed in the number. $1. In the memo line I wrote, "Best wishes." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The confirmation screen glowed on my phone. Payment sent. $1. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I had never defied my father like this. Never. Not once in 31 years. Growing up, he ruled our household with an iron fist wrapped in silent disappointment. He didn't yell often, but his quiet disapproval could crush you. It was worse than screaming. It made you feel like you'd failed at being human. My mother enabled every bit of it, always siding with him, always making excuses. I grew up in a house where Brendan could do no wrong, and Haley was the baby who needed protecting and special treatment. I was the middle child. The reliable one. The one who didn't need attention because I could handle things myself. Parentification. I learned that term later in therapy. The term for when you turn a child into an adult too early. When I was 11 and Brendan was 8, I was the one making sure he had his homework done and his backpack ready. When Haley was born, I was 13. Suddenly, I had a third shift added to my responsibilities. Making bottles. Changing diapers. Walking the floors at night when she cried so my parents could sleep. "Camila's so responsible," people would say, and my parents would beam with pride. What they meant was, "Camila's so useful." I learned not to ask for help. When I wanted to go to prom in high school, my mother said we couldn't afford the dress. But 4 months later, Brendan got a PlayStation and 3 new games for his birthday. When I graduated high school, we had cake at home with just the 4 of us. When Brendan graduated 3 years ago, they threw him a party at a hotel banquet hall and invited 75 people. The pattern was so clear now, looking back. But when you're living it, when it's all you know, you think maybe this is just how families work. Maybe you're asking for too much. Maybe you're being selfish. Getting pregnant with Theo at 24 had been unplanned. His father, a guy I'd dated for 7 months, disappeared when I told him. My parents' reaction was predictable. Disappointment wrapped in "we'll support you" statements that never quite turned into actual support. They didn't come to any of my prenatal appointments. Didn't help me set up the nursery. When I went into labor 2 weeks early and called my mother in a panic at 3 a.m., she said she couldn't come to the hospital because she had an important meeting the next morning. I had Theo alone. Well, not entirely alone. A wonderful nurse named Rebecca held my hand through the worst contractions and stayed past her shift to see him born. But no family. No one who was supposed to love me unconditionally. After Theo was born, things got marginally better. My parents would visit occasionally. Bring small gifts. They liked showing pictures of their grandson to their friends at church. But the deeper issues remained. Every family gathering was structured around what Brendan needed, what Haley wanted. Theo and I were afterthoughts. Background characters in their main story. When Theo was 2 years old, my car broke down on the highway. I called my father because I didn't know what else to do. The repair estimate was $950, money I absolutely didn't have. He lectured me for 30 minutes about financial responsibility and making better choices before finally agreeing to lend me the money. Lend. Not give. Lend. I paid him back in full within 4 months, even though it meant skipping meals and selling things I needed. 2 years later, Brendan crashed his truck driving home drunk from a bar. My father paid for the replacement vehicle outright. $15,000. Just like that. Brendan never paid him back. Not $1. When I asked my mother about the double standard, she said, "Brendan's going through a difficult time. He needs our support right now." And apparently I didn't. I never did. I had tried to talk to them about it once, about a year and a half ago. I sat them down during a Sunday dinner and explained, as calmly as I could, how their favoritism hurt. How I felt invisible. How Theo deserved grandparents who showed up for him. My father listened with his arms crossed, face completely blank. When I finished, he said, "You've always been too sensitive, Camila. We treat all our children the same." My mother nodded along like a puppet. "You're imagining things, sweetie. We love you all equally." Gaslighting. Another therapy term I learned later. After that conversation, I stopped trying to fix things. I maintained basic contact. Sent obligatory birthday cards. Showed up to holiday dinners and sat quietly at the end of the table. But I stopped expecting anything. Stopped hoping they'd suddenly see Theo and me as worth their time and energy. Still, some stupid, hopeful part of me had thought they'd come to his 6th birthday party. I had explicitly told them how much it meant to Theo. How he'd been talking about it for weeks. How he'd made them drawings to give them when they arrived. They couldn't even send a text until hours after the party started. Now, sitting in my kitchen with that $1 payment confirmation on my screen, I felt something shift inside me. Not just anger, though there was plenty of that. Something colder. More calculated. More final. I had been playing by their rules my entire life, and it had gotten me nowhere. Maybe it was time to make my own rules. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "Camila, I don't see the full payment. There must be an error with your bank. Please resend $3,200 immediately." I almost laughed. There was no error, but he couldn't even conceive of the possibility that I had sent exactly what I meant to send. That I had defied him deliberately. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my contacts and scrolled to a number I'd saved 8 months ago but never called. A family attorney named Marcus Chin, who had helped my coworker navigate a difficult inheritance dispute. Because there was something my parents didn't know. Something I had been quietly working on since Theo's 5th birthday party, when they first showed me exactly how little we mattered to them. The apartment I lived in, the one I'd been making rent payments on for 4 years, wasn't just a rental anymore. 3 months ago, the building had converted to condos, and the owner had offered tenants the option to buy at a reduced rate. I'd qualified for a mortgage on my own. No cosigner needed. No one's name on the deed but mine. It had taken every penny of my savings for the down payment, plus a small loan from my friend Destiny, but I'd done it. I owned my home. Completely and totally. And my parents had no idea. They still thought I was renting, still thought I was one emergency away from financial disaster, still thought I needed them. I didn't. I texted Destiny. "Are you free tonight? I need to talk." She replied within seconds. "Always. Come over after you put Theo to bed. I'll have wine ready." Destiny had been my best friend since college. We'd met in an anatomy class, bonded over terrible study group partners, and somehow stayed close through all the chaos of our 20s and early 30s. She was the only person who really understood my family situation because she'd witnessed enough of it firsthand. She'd been at Theo's birthday party 4 days ago. She'd seen him waiting by the window. She'd helped me keep smiling when I wanted to scream. That evening, after I'd given Theo his bath and read him 3 stories and promised him that yes, we could go to the park tomorrow and feed the ducks, I drove the 20 minutes to Destiny's apartment in Northwest Portland. She opened the door before I could knock, 2 glasses of wine already poured on her coffee table. "Okay," she said, pulling me inside. "What happened? You have that look." "What look?" "The I'm about to do something either brilliant or completely crazy look. Possibly both." I sat on her couch and told her everything. The text from my father. The $1 payment. The condo purchase she didn't even know about yet. When I finished, she was staring at me with wide eyes and a slowly growing smile. "You bought your place?" "When?" 3 months ago. Closed on it last week. I've been sitting on the news, waiting to see if they'd actually show up for Theo this year. They didn't. They didn't. And now my father wants $3,200 for Brendan's party like nothing happened. Like they didn't break my son's heart. Destiny took a long drink of wine. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. But I'm done. I'm done being the one who bends." Done being the one who pays up and shows up while getting nothing in return. They're going to completely lose their minds when they find out about the condo. I know. Your father especially. He uses money as control, doesn't he? She was right. Every time I'd pushed back on something over the past few years, my father would make some comment about the money we've given you or after everything we've done for you. It was his trump card. His reminder that I owed them. Except I didn't. Not anymore. I'm thinking about changing my locks, I said quietly. Destiny set down her wine glass. Do you think they'd actually show up and try to use a key? Do they even have one? My mother has a spare key. She insisted on it years ago, said it was for emergencies. But she's used it before. Twice that I know of. Once she let herself into my apartment while Theo and I were at the grocery store because she wanted to drop off some hand-me-down clothes. Didn't ask permission. Just did it. That's really cool, buddy. After dinner, bath time, and 2 bedtime stories, I tucked Theo into bed. He looked up at me with those big green eyes. Mama, are we going to have another birthday party for me? My heart clenched painfully. What do you mean, honey? Like a do-over party. Since Grandpa and Grandma and Uncle Brendan didn't come to the first one. Oh, sweetheart. I sat on the edge of his bed and brushed his auburn hair back from his forehead. We already had your party, buddy. You had all your friends there, and it was so much fun. Remember? Yeah, but I wanted to show Grandpa my new scooter. I know you did. Do you think they'll come next year? I wanted to lie. Wanted to protect him from the truth. But I also didn't want to give him false hope for another disappointment. I don't know, baby. But you know what I do know? You are so loved by me, by Auntie Destiny, by all your friends. And that's what matters most. He thought about this for a moment, processing. Okay, Mama. Okay, now get some sleep. We have that trip to the zoo tomorrow, remember? His face brightened instantly. Oh yeah, can we see the lions? We can see all the animals you want. After he fell asleep, I went to my own room and checked my phone. 52 missed calls. 41 text messages. All from various family members. The messages had evolved from annoyed to angry to almost frantic. My mother, Camila, please call us. Your father is extremely upset. Brendan, you're being a child. Just apologize and send the money. Haley, I can't believe you're doing this to Mom and Dad. They don't deserve this. My father, last chance. Call me by 9 o'clock tonight, or I'm coming to your apartment tomorrow and we're settling this. It was 8:47. I had 13 minutes to decide if I was going to call him back. I didn't. At 9:16, my father sent one final text. Fine. Have it your way. But don't say I didn't warn you. I lay in bed that night, anxiety churning in my stomach like a storm. What did he mean? What was he going to do? The next morning was Monday. I dropped Theo at school and went to work. My rehabilitation center was busy, which was good. It kept my mind occupied with patients and treatment plans. Between sessions, I checked my phone. Nothing from my family. The silence felt ominous, like the calm before something terrible. During my lunch break, I drove to Marcus Chen's office. His secretary showed me into a comfortable conference room with a view of downtown Portland. Marcus entered a moment later, carrying a leather portfolio. He was in his mid-40s, with kind eyes and an air of competence that made me feel slightly safer. Camila, thank you for coming in. Tell me what's going on. I gave him the full story. The birthday party. The money demand. The confrontation at my door. The threatening texts. He listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. First, I want you to know that what you're describing is a pattern of financial manipulation and emotional abuse. You were right to set boundaries. But your father's final text concerns me. Don't say I didn't warn you suggests he's planning something. In my experience, when family members feel they're losing control, they often escalate. My stomach dropped. Escalate how? It varies. Sometimes it's showing up at workplaces. Sometimes it's spreading rumors to extended family or social circles. Sometimes it's more serious, like filing false reports or attempting to damage your reputation professionally. What can I do? Document everything. Every text, every call, every interaction. If he shows up at your home or workplace again, call the police immediately. Don't engage. And we should discuss the possibility of a restraining order. A restraining order? Against my own father. I know it sounds extreme, but if his behavior continues to escalate, it may become necessary. Let's see how the next few days go. In the meantime, I'm going to draft a formal cease and desist letter. It will make clear that further harassment or unwanted contact will result in legal action. I nodded, feeling overwhelmed. This was really happening. My family situation had deteriorated to the point where I needed legal protection. Marcus handed me his card. Call me anytime, day or night, if you feel unsafe. And Camila? You're doing the right thing. Standing up to abusive family members is one of the hardest things a person can do. Oh. The afternoon passed without incident. I picked up Theo from school, and we went to the zoo as promised. Watching him press his face against the glass at the lion exhibit, his eyes wide with wonder, I felt a surge of protective love so strong it almost hurt. This was what mattered. Not my parents' approval. Not my siblings' opinions. Just this little boy and his happiness. We got home around 6 o'clock. Theo went straight to his room to play with his toy animals while I started preparing dinner. I was chopping vegetables when I heard a car pull up outside. Multiple cars, actually. Through the kitchen window, I saw my father's sedan, my mother's SUV, Brendan's truck, and Haley's compact car. They were all here. All of them. My stomach dropped through the floor. I quickly pulled out my phone and texted Destiny. My entire family just showed up at my place. All of them. Her response was immediate. Do you want me to come over? Not yet. But stay ready. I watched as they all got out of their vehicles and approached my door. My father led the way, my mother beside him. Brendan and Haley followed close behind. The doorbell rang. Theo looked up from his toys. Who's that, Mama? Just some visitors, honey. Stay in your room and keep playing, okay? Okay, Mama. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. All 4 of them stood on my doorstep, looking like some kind of intervention team. I opened the door with the chain still engaged. We need to talk, my father said without any preamble. No, we don't. Camila, please, my mother said. Let us in. Let's discuss this like adults. There's nothing to discuss. I'm not giving you money for Brendan's party. End of discussion. Brendan pushed forward. Come on, this is ridiculous. Just let us in. No. My father's voice hardened in that way I remembered from childhood. Camila, if you don't open this door right now, we're going to have a serious problem. I'm not opening the door. You need to leave. Now. This is our grandson's home too, my mother said. We have a right to see him. Then she raised her voice. Theo? Theo, honey, it's Grandma. Rage flooded through me like fire. Do not call for my son. You had your chance to see him at his birthday party. You chose not to show up. We explained that, Haley said. Why can't you just let it go? Because it's a pattern, Haley. And I'm done pretending it's okay. My father pulled out his phone. Last chance, Camila. Open the door or I'm calling the police. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're calling the police for what? I'm asking you to leave my property. That's my legal right. You're keeping us from our grandson. That could be considered parental alienation. That's not what parental alienation means, and you know it. We'll see what the police have to say about that. I watched in complete disbelief as my father actually dialed 911. He was really doing this. Really calling the police because I wouldn't let him into my home. Yes, I need to report a situation, my father said into his phone, his voice taking on a concerned, reasonable tone that made me feel sick. My daughter is refusing to let us see our grandson. We're at her apartment now and she won't even talk to us properly. We're very worried about the child's welfare. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was twisting the entire situation, making it sound like I was the problem, like Theo was in danger. The address is 847 Riverside Apartments, Unit 214, he continued. Yes, we'll wait here. Thank you so much. He hung up and looked at me with satisfaction. The police are on their way. Maybe they can talk some sense into you. My hands were shaking, but I forced my voice to stay calm. You're making a huge mistake. The only mistake is yours. You've forgotten who your family is. We're here to remind you. I closed the door and engaged the deadbolt. My heart was racing. I had maybe 15 minutes before the police arrived. I needed to be prepared. I grabbed my phone and opened my photo app. I scrolled back to Theo's birthday party. I had taken so many photos. The decorated backyard. The bounce castle. The superhero cake. and time-stamped throughout the afternoon, photos of Theo by the window, waiting, looking hopefully at the driveway, checking the door. I also had screenshots. Every text message from the weeks before the party where I'd confirmed with my parents, Brendan and Haley, that they were coming. Every "yes, we'll be there" response. Every single broken promise, documented. The group texts from the past few days were there too. The demands for money. The hostile messages when I refused. I opened a voice recording app and hit record. If the police were coming, I wanted documentation of every word said from this point forward. Theo came into the living room. "Mama, why are Grandpa and Grandma outside?" I knelt down to his level. "They wanted to visit, but now's not a good time. Some police officers might come by to talk to Mama for a minute, okay? It's nothing to worry about. Just boring grown-up stuff." His eyes got wide. "Police? Like the ones with the cars that go wee-oh, wee-oh." Exactly like that. But remember, police officers are helpers. They're going to help Mama explain something to Grandpa. You just stay in here and play, okay? "Okay, Mama." 14 minutes later, I saw the police cruiser pull up. One officer got out, a tall man in his 40s with a weathered face. He approached my door where my family was still standing. I could hear muffled conversation through the door. My father's voice, animated and concerned. My mother's softer responses. The officer asking questions. Then there was a knock on my door. "Ma'am, this is Officer Davidson with the Portland Police Department. Can you open the door, please?" I took a deep breath, made sure my recording was still running, and opened the door. This time I removed the chain entirely and stepped out onto the landing, pulling the door closed behind me so Theo wouldn't hear. "Hello, officer." He looked at me carefully, then at my family clustered nearby. "I'm Officer Davidson. Are you Camila Rodriguez?" "Yes. Your father called with concerns about his grandson's welfare and reported that you're refusing to let family members see the child. Can you tell me what's going on here?" My father started to speak, but Officer Davidson held up a hand. "Sir, I'd like to hear from her first, please." I took a breath. "My son is fine, officer. He's inside playing with his toys. He had his 6th birthday party last week, and my parents, brother, and sister were all invited. They confirmed they would attend. None of them showed up. Not even a phone call to explain." 4 days later, my father texted demanding $3,200 for my brother's graduation party. When I declined, he became hostile. Yesterday, he showed up here with my mother, and when his key didn't work because I'd changed the locks on my own home, he became angry. Today, the entire family showed up unannounced, and when I asked them to leave, my father called the police. Officer Davidson's expression didn't change, but I saw his eyes shift to my father. "Is this accurate?" "That's a very one-sided version of events," my father said quickly. "What she's not telling you is that we've been part of this child's life since birth. We have a relationship with our grandson, and she's suddenly cutting us off for no reason. Is there a custody agreement in place that grants you visitation rights?" Officer Davidson asked. "Well, no, but..." "Are you listed as legal guardians?" "No, but we're his grandparents. We have a right to see him." Officer Davidson turned back to me. "Ma'am, do you have sole legal custody of your son?" "Yes. His father isn't involved." "Has there been any court order granting grandparent visitation?" "No." Officer Davidson looked at my father. "Sir, without a custody agreement or court order, she has every legal right to determine who has access to her child." "But this is family business," my mother interjected desperately. "Can't you see she's being unreasonable? We just want to talk to our daughter and see our grandson." "Ma'am, what I see is a woman standing on her own property asking you to leave. That's her legal right." "This is insane." Brendan stepped forward. "She's our sister. We're not strangers. Family relationships don't override property rights," Officer Davidson said firmly. "Ms. Rodriguez, do you want these people to leave?" I looked at my family. My father's red face. My mother's tears. Brendan's disbelief. Haley's shock. Part of me wanted to say yes, wanted to press charges just to drive home how serious I was. But another part of me, the part that was exhausted and just wanted peace, couldn't quite do it. "No charges," I said quietly. "I just want them to leave and not come back unless invited." Officer Davidson nodded. He turned to my family. "You heard her. You need to leave this property now." If you return without her permission, she can call us back and press trespassing charges. Do you understand? My father opened his mouth to argue, but Officer Davidson's expression stopped him. Do you understand, sir? Yes, he said through gritted teeth. Good. I suggest you all leave now. I watched as my family slowly walked back to their cars. My mother was crying openly now. Haley put an arm around her. Brendan shot me a look of pure disgust before getting in his truck. My father was the last to leave. He stopped at his car door and looked back at me. You're going to regret this, Camila. You're throwing away your family over money and pride. I met his eyes steadily. I'm protecting my son from people who don't value him. That's not something I'll ever regret. He got in his car and slammed the door hard enough that I flinched. Officer Davidson waited until all the vehicles had pulled away before turning back to me. Are you okay, ma'am? I think so. Thank you for listening to both sides. It's my job. He paused. Can I give you some advice? Please. Document everything. Keep records of all communication. If they show up again, call us immediately. And you might want to consider getting a restraining order if the harassment continues. I have a lawyer. I'm meeting with him again this week. Good. That's smart. He handed me his card. If you need anything, don't hesitate to call. After he left, I stood outside my door for a long moment, just breathing. My legs felt weak. My hands were still shaking. But I'd done it. I'd stood my ground, and my family had been forced to leave by the police. I went back inside where Theo was still playing with his toy animals, completely oblivious to the drama that had just happened on our doorstep. Is everything okay, Mama? I sat down next to him on the floor. Everything's okay, buddy. Everything's just fine. The next few days were eerily quiet. My phone, which had been exploding with messages and calls, went almost completely silent. No texts from my parents. No angry calls from Brendan. No guilt-tripping messages from Haley. The silence felt worse than the confrontation somehow. I went to work, picked up Theo from school, made dinners, read bedtime stories. Normal life continued, but I felt like I was waiting for something. For the other shoe to drop. My father's parting words echoed in my mind constantly. You're going to regret this. On Wednesday evening, 5 days after the police had removed my family from my property, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello. Is this Camila Rodriguez? A woman's voice, professional and unfamiliar. Yes. Who's calling? My name is Jennifer Torres, and I'm calling from Child Protective Services. We received a report concerning your 6-year-old son, Theo. I'd like to schedule a home visit to follow up on some concerns that were raised. My blood ran completely cold. The room seemed to tilt. What concerns? I can't discuss the specifics over the phone, but I assure you this is standard procedure when we receive a report. Would tomorrow afternoon work for a visit? Around 3 o'clock. My mind was racing, spinning out of control. A report. Someone had reported me to CPS. And I knew exactly who. Yes, I managed to say. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock is fine. Thank you. I'll see you then. After I hung up, I sat staring at my phone. My hands were shaking again, but this time with pure, incandescent rage. My father had actually called CPS on me. He'd reported me as an unfit mother because I wouldn't give him money and wouldn't let him control my life anymore. I called Destiny immediately. He called CPS on me, I said as soon as she answered. My father actually called Child Protective Services. What? Are you serious? A caseworker named Jennifer Torres is coming tomorrow at 3 o'clock for a home visit. They received a report with concerns about Theo. That's absolutely insane. Theo is healthy, happy, well cared for. Anyone with eyes can see that. I know, but now I have to prove it. I have to let a stranger come into my home and inspect how I parent because my father is vindictive enough to weaponize the system against me. Destiny was quiet for a moment. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to deep clean your condo tonight. Make sure everything is organized, safe, and tidy. Tomorrow, before the caseworker arrives, I'm coming over. I'm bringing documentation. What kind of documentation? Theo's school records showing perfect attendance and no concerns. Pictures from his birthday party showing a happy, healthy kid. Character references if you need them. Medical records showing he's up to date on all his checkups. We're going to make it impossible for them to find anything wrong, because there isn't anything wrong. Thank you, I whispered. And Camila? After this is over, you absolutely need to get that restraining order Marcus mentioned. Your father has escalated this way beyond family drama. He's dangerous. She was right. I knew she was right. That night after Theo went to bed, I cleaned my condo more thoroughly than I ever had in my life. I organized Theo's toys into bins, wiped down every surface until it gleamed, checked that all medications were properly stored and labeled, made sure there was plenty of healthy food in the refrigerator and pantry. I gathered Theo's medical records from his pediatrician, his school reports from kindergarten, his growth charts, vaccination records, everything. I barely slept. Again. The next day, I took a personal day from work. Destiny arrived at noon with a thick folder full of documents. School records, she said, spreading papers on my kitchen table. I called Mrs. Patterson this morning and explained the situation. She was horrified that someone reported you to CPS. She wrote a letter detailing Theo's development, his social skills, his general well-being. She also noted that you're always on time for pickup and drop-off. You attend all parent-teacher conferences, and you volunteer for class activities whenever you can. She did that for me? She was actually angry on your behalf. She said it's obviously a malicious report, and she'd be happy to testify to that if needed. I felt tears prick my eyes. I don't deserve you. Or her. Yes, you do. Now, I also have photos from the birthday party, your pediatrician's contact information, and a list of character references including me, Mrs. Patterson, and 3 of your coworkers who've known you for years. At exactly 3 o'clock, Jennifer Torres from CPS arrived. She was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with dark hair pulled back in a professional bun and kind but observant eyes. I invited her in, introduced Destiny as my friend who was there for moral support. Jennifer walked through the condo, making notes on a clipboard. She asked to see Theo's bedroom, the kitchen, the bathroom. She checked that cleaning supplies were stored safely out of reach, that there were working smoke detectors, that the home was clean and well-maintained. Then she asked to speak with Theo. I brought him out from his room where he'd been playing quietly. He looked at Jennifer with curiosity, but no fear. Hi, Theo. My name is Jennifer. I just want to ask you a few questions, okay? Okay, he said, climbing onto the couch next to me. Do you like living here? Yeah. I have my own room with dinosaur sheets and a night light that makes stars on the ceiling. That sounds really cool. Does your mom make sure you have food to eat? Uh-huh. We had spaghetti last night. It's my favorite. Does your mom ever hurt you or scare you? Theo looked confused. No. Mama gives the best hugs in the whole world. Jennifer smiled gently. I bet she does. Do you go to school? Kindergarten. Mrs. Patterson is my teacher, and she's really nice. We're learning about butterflies right now. The questions continued for about 10 minutes. Theo answered each one honestly and cheerfully, completely unaware of the weight they carried. After Jennifer finished with Theo, I sent him back to his room to play. She sat down across from me and Destiny at the kitchen table. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Ms. Rodriguez. The report we received alleged neglect. Specifically, that your child was being denied access to family members and potentially kept in an unsafe environment. Based on what I've seen today and my conversation with Theo, none of those allegations appear to be true. Relief flooded through me, but I kept my voice steady. Can I ask who made the report? Reports are confidential, but I can tell you that the caller identified himself as the child's grandfather. There it was. Confirmation. My father called because I refused to give him money and set boundaries about access to my home, I said. 5 days ago, police had to remove him and other family members from my property for refusing to leave when asked. Jennifer's eyebrows rose. I see. Do you have documentation of that? I showed her Officer Davidson's card and explained the entire situation. Destiny provided the additional documentation we'd prepared. Jennifer reviewed everything carefully. The school records, the medical files, the photos from the birthday party, the police report from Sunday. Finally, she closed her notebook. I'm going to close this case as unfounded. Theo is clearly well cared for. Your home is safe and appropriate. There's no evidence of neglect or abuse whatsoever. In fact, all evidence points to you being a dedicated, attentive parent. The relief was overwhelming. Thank you. However, I do want to note in my report that this appears to be a malicious complaint related to a family conflict. If your father calls again with similar allegations, that history will be on file. It will work in your favor. After Jennifer left, I collapsed onto my couch. Destiny sat next to me and put her arm around my shoulders. You did it. You got through it. He used CPS as a weapon against me, Destiny. He tried to have my son taken away because I wouldn't obey him. I know. And that's why you need to protect yourself legally. This isn't going to stop unless you make it stop. She was absolutely right. I'd been hesitant about a restraining order because it felt so final, so dramatic, so extreme. But my father had proven he was willing to go to any length to punish me for defying him. The next morning, I called Marcus Chin. Camila, I was hoping to hear from you. How are you holding up? I told him about the CPS visit, the false report, Jennifer's conclusion that it was malicious. That's it, Marcus said, his voice firm. We're filing for a restraining order today. This has gone too far. What do I need to do? Come to my office this afternoon. We'll fill out the paperwork together. With the police report and the CPS documentation, we have more than enough for a harassment restraining order. That afternoon, I sat in Marcus's office and filled out forms. Detailed every incident, every threat, every manipulation, every broken promise to Theo. Marcus helped me organize the evidence chronologically. The birthday party invitations and confirmations. The screenshots showing everyone saying they'd attend. The photos of Theo waiting by the window. The money demand text. The hostile messages. Officer Davidson's report. The CPS case number and Jennifer's report stating the complaint was unfounded and appeared malicious. This is incredibly solid, Marcus said, reviewing the file. Very solid. Your father has essentially documented his own harassment pattern via text message. When will it be served? I'll file this today. Service typically happens within 48 hours. Once he's served with the temporary order, he'll receive notice of the hearing date. That's usually within 2 weeks. I left Marcus's office feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. Agency. Power over my own life. I was taking real legal action that would protect Theo and me. That evening, I was making dinner when my phone rang. Brendan. I'd been ignoring his calls for over a week, but something made me answer this one. What? Don't hang up. Please. I need to talk to you about Dad. I don't want to hear it, Brendan. Just listen for 1 minute. He's completely losing it, Camila. Like, actually losing his mind. He's been calling everyone in the extended family, ranting about you, about the condo, about how you've betrayed us. Mom's worried he's going to have a stroke from the stress. That's not my problem. He called CPS on you. I know he did. I paused, surprised. You told him not to? Of course I did. Even I know that's way too far. That's insane. But he wouldn't listen to anyone. He's convinced you're an unfit mother because you won't let him control your life anymore. Then maybe you should be having this conversation with him, not me. I tried. We all tried. He won't listen to reason. He's planning something else, Camila. I don't know what, but he keeps saying you need to learn a lesson. That you need to understand there are consequences. My stomach tightened with fear. What does that mean? I genuinely don't know. But I wanted to warn you. Whatever you're doing to protect yourself, keep doing it. Be careful. Why are you telling me this, Brendan? He was quiet for a long moment. Because I've been thinking about Theo's birthday party. About how we all just didn't show up and how that must have felt for him. For you. And then Dad demanded money 3 days later like nothing happened. That was wrong, Camila. I should have said something then. I should have stood up for you. But you didn't. No, I didn't. I went along with it like I always do because it's easier than standing up to Dad. It's always been easier. But what he's doing now, calling CPS, that's not okay. That's actually dangerous. Thank you for the warning, I said quietly. But Brendan, I need you to understand something. I'm done. I'm completely done trying to have a relationship with people who treat me like this. Including you. I understand. I do. I just wanted you to know. Be careful. After we hung up, I sat with Brendan's warning. My father was planning something else. More escalation. More attempts to punish me for defying his authority. Good thing I was already 1 step ahead. 2 days later, on Saturday morning, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw a man in a suit holding a folder. I opened the door with the chain engaged. Yes. Camila Rodriguez? Yes. I'm a process server. I have documents for you. He handed them through the gap. They were copies of the restraining order paperwork, confirming that my father had been served with the temporary order that morning. My phone started ringing within 30 minutes. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. Finally, I listened to the message. Camila, what have you done? Your father just got served with some kind of court order saying he can't contact you or see Theo. This is going too far. You need to drop this immediately. Call me back. I deleted the message. Another call came through, this time from Haley. Are you serious right now? A restraining order against Dad? Because of what? Money? You've officially lost your mind. Mom is hysterical. Fix this. Delete. Brendan texted. I warned you he was planning something. I didn't think you'd go nuclear first. Restraining order? Really? I replied. He called CPS and tried to have Theo taken away. I'm protecting my son. Don't contact me again. That evening, Destiny came over with wine and takeout. We sat on my couch while Theo played in his room. How do you feel? She asked. Terrified. Relieved. Guilty. Angry. Everything all at once. The guilt will fade. You're doing the right thing. Am I? I just got a restraining order against my own father. Your father who called CPS on you with false allegations. Your father who showed up at your home with your entire family to intimidate you. Your father who has financially and emotionally manipulated you your whole life. Yeah, Camila. You are absolutely doing the right thing. I took a sip of wine. The hearing is in 12 days. Do you think he'll show up? Definitely. He'll want to tell the judge his side of the story. Paint me as the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family over money. Good thing you have evidence to prove otherwise. The next 12 days were the longest of my life. I went to work, took care of Theo, prepared for the hearing with Marcus. My family tried to contact me through every method they could think of. My mother created a new email account to send me long messages about how I was tearing the family apart. Haley showed up at my workplace, forcing my supervisor to ask her to leave. Brendan sent letters through the mail, each one trying a different approach from angry to pleading. I saved everything. Every email. Every attempted contact. Every violation of the spirit, if not the letter of the temporary order. Marcus told me it would all help at the hearing. The hearing was on a Thursday morning. I took the day off work and met Marcus at the courthouse. My stomach was in knots as we waited in the hallway outside the courtroom. Remember, Marcus said, answer questions directly and honestly. Don't get emotional if you can help it. Stick to the facts and the evidence. What if he lies? What if he tells the judge I'm the problem? Then we show the evidence. We have documentation of everything. His words versus your proof. The proof will win. At 9 o'clock, we entered the courtroom. My father was already there with his own attorney, a stern-looking woman in an expensive suit. My mother sat in the gallery behind him, her face blotchy from crying. Brendan and Haley were there too, all dressed up like they were going to church. I sat at the table with Marcus and tried to breathe. The judge entered and we all stood. Judge Patricia Williams was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that reminded me of my high school principal. We're here for a harassment restraining order petition filed by Camila Rodriguez against Gary Rodriguez, Judge Williams began. Let's start with the petitioner. Mr. Chin, please present your case. Marcus stood and methodically walked through everything. He presented the text showing the money demand. The photos from Theo's birthday party with timestamps showing him waiting for family that never came. The police report from when my family was removed from my property. The CPS case number and Jennifer Torres's report stating the complaint was unfounded and appeared malicious. Your Honor, Marcus concluded, the respondent has engaged in a clear pattern, a massive violation of privacy. I know. I didn't fight it because I thought it would cause a huge argument, and I was trying to keep the peace. But there's no peace anymore. There's just me being used. Destiny reached over and squeezed my hand. Change the locks. Tomorrow. I'll come with you to the hardware store. We'll make a day of it. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. For what? For not telling me I'm overreacting. For not saying they're still my family and I should forgive them. Camila, They ghosted a 6-year-old's birthday party. Their own grandson. And now they want money from you. No. Absolutely not. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them anything. We talked for another hour. She helped me think through the practical steps. Change the locks. Document everything. Every text, every missed event, every broken promise. Prepare for the inevitable backlash, because there would be backlash. My father didn't handle defiance well. He never had. The next morning, Saturday, Destiny picked me up at 9 o'clock. Theo was at a play date with his best friend from school, a standing weekend arrangement that gave me a few precious hours to handle adult tasks. We went to the hardware store and bought new deadbolts for both the front and back doors. The guy at the counter, a friendly older man with calloused hands, showed us how to install them. Easy enough, he said. Anyone can do it with a screwdriver in about 20 minutes per door. Back at my condo, I changed both locks. The physical act of removing my mother's access felt symbolic. Revolutionary. Every turn of the screwdriver was a small act of rebellion. When I finished, I stood at my front door and looked at the new silver deadbolt gleaming in the afternoon light. My home. My locks. My rules. My phone buzzed with another text from my father. Camila, it's been 3 days. I need that money transferred by tomorrow, or we can't confirm the venue for Brendan's party. Stop playing games. Playing games. As if my entire life hadn't been a game to them. One where the rules kept changing to benefit everyone but me. I texted back. I sent what I could afford. Best wishes to Brendan. 3 dots appeared immediately, showing he was typing. They disappeared. Appeared again. Disappeared. This happened 5 times before his response finally came through. What you sent was insulting. Your brother deserves better than your petty behavior. We'll discuss this in person. I'll be by your apartment tomorrow at noon. My heart rate spiked. Tomorrow was Sunday. Theo would be home. I didn't want him anywhere near whatever confrontation was coming. I texted Destiny immediately. My father is coming here tomorrow at noon. Can Theo stay with you for a few hours? Her response was instant. Absolutely. Bring him over at 11 o'clock. We'll bake cookies and watch movies. I made another decision right then. I called Marcus Chin, the family attorney. He answered on the second ring. Hi Marcus, this is Camila Rodriguez. We spoke briefly a few months ago at my coworker's barbecue. Of course, Camila. How can I help you? I think I'm going to need legal advice. Possibly documentation. It's complicated, but my family is becoming hostile, and I want to be prepared. There was a pause. Are you safe right now? Yes. But my father is planning to come to my home tomorrow uninvited, and I'm concerned about how he'll react when I refuse to give him money. I see. Can you come to my office Monday morning? We should discuss your options, including a possible restraining order if the situation warrants it. Monday morning works. Thank you. After I hung up, I sat in my quiet condo and let myself feel the fear. Because I was scared. Absolutely terrified. I was challenging my father's authority for the first time in my life, and I knew he wouldn't take it well. But I was also exhausted. Exhausted from trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Exhausted from watching my son's face fall every time my family chose not to show up. Exhausted from being the designated family doormat. Something my therapist had said once came back to me. You can't control how other people treat you, Camila. You can only control how you respond. I was responding. Finally. That night, I lay in bed and thought about what would happen tomorrow. My father would show up expecting to intimidate me. Expecting me to cave and transfer the money like I always did. He'd probably try to use his authority, his disappointment, his silent judgment to break me down. Except I wasn't going to break anymore. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I rehearsed the confrontation. His anger. My mother's tears if she came too. The accusations of being ungrateful, selfish, a bad daughter. But then I'd think of Theo asking if he'd done something wrong, and the fear would transform into something harder. Something unbreakable. Sunday morning, I took Theo to Destiny's apartment. I packed his favorite stuffed dinosaur, some snacks, and told him he got to have a special baking day with Auntie Destiny. Why can't you stay, Mama? He asked, his green eyes curious. I have some boring grown-up stuff to handle at home, but I'll pick you up in a few hours and we'll get ice cream after. Okay. His face lit up like a sunrise. Okay. Destiny gave me a hug at the door. You've got this. Call me if you need backup. I will. I drove home with my hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel. At 11:45, I made sure all the curtains were closed. I didn't want my father seeing inside my home. Didn't want him to think he had any right to my space. At exactly noon, I heard a car pull into the parking lot outside. Through the peephole, I watched my father get out. My mother was in the passenger seat, staying in the car. Typical. She'd let him handle the confrontation, then claim later she'd tried to keep the peace. He walked up to my door with the confidence of someone who expected absolute obedience. I watched him knock. Counted to 10. He knocked again, harder this time. Then I watched him reach into his pocket and pull out a key. I watched through the peephole as my father inserted the key into the lock. He turned it once. Twice. His face registered confusion when the lock didn't budge. He tried again, jiggling the key more forcefully. Nothing. He stepped back, examined the key as if it had somehow transformed into the wrong one, then tried the lock again with more aggression. I could see the exact moment realization hit. His jaw clenched. His face darkened to an alarming shade of red. He pounded on the door. Camila, open this door right now. I took a deep breath and opened it, leaving the chain lock engaged so only a few inches of space showed between us. Hi, Dad. His eyes went immediately to the chain, then back to me. What's going on? My key doesn't work. I changed the locks. Silence. Complete, stunned silence. I watched him process this information. Watched his expression shift from confusion to anger to something darker. You changed the locks on your apartment without telling me? It's my condo, actually. I bought it 3 months ago. And yes, I can change the locks whenever I want. His face was turning an even deeper shade of red now. Your condo? You bought this place? When? How? I qualified for a mortgage on my own. Closed last week. Your name isn't on anything, so no, you don't have a right to access anymore. I had never seen my father look quite so shocked. His mouth opened and closed like he was gasping for air. Behind him, I could see my mother getting out of the car now, clearly sensing something was wrong. You bought a condo? He finally managed. When were you planning to tell us? I wasn't. It's my business, not yours. Camila, what has gotten into you? First, you sent an insulting dollar to your brother. Now you're changing locks and hiding major life decisions from us. I didn't hide anything. I handled my own business. There's a difference. My mother reached the door, slightly out of breath. What's happening? Gary, why are you shouting? Your daughter has apparently lost her mind. She bought this place and changed the locks without telling us. My mother's eyes widened. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Camila, honey, why would you do that? Because it's my home and I wanted new locks. But I've always had a key for emergencies. There won't be any emergencies that require you to let yourself into my home unannounced. My father's voice rose. This is about the money, isn't it? You're throwing a tantrum because I asked you to contribute to your brother's graduation party. You didn't ask. You demanded. And you demanded it 4 days after you all skipped Theo's birthday party without even a phone call. We explained that. My mother jumped in. I had that terrible migraine. And Brendan? Haley? What were their excuses? Haley had a work conflict, and Brendan was dealing with final exams. Brendan graduated 3 weeks before Theo's party. I know because he posted about being done with school all over social media. My father stepped closer to the door, and I instinctively stepped back even though the chain held firm. You're being incredibly selfish right now. Your brother's graduation is a major milestone. The party is important to him. And my son's 6th birthday wasn't important? That's different. How? Explain to me how it's different. Theo is a child. He doesn't understand these things yet. He'll have plenty of birthdays. The words hung in the air like poison. My hands trembled with rage. Get off my property. My father's eyes narrowed dangerously. Excuse me. You heard me. This is my home. My property. And I'm asking you to leave. Camila, let's just calm down and talk about this reasonably, my mother said, her voice taking on that placating tone I knew so well. We're family. We don't need to be so hostile. You're right. We are family. Which is why you should have shown up for your grandson's birthday. Which is why you should have called to apologize instead of demanding money from me 4 days later. We're asking for help with a family celebration, my father said. That's what families do. They help each other. Then where was my help when Theo was born? Where was my help when my car broke down and you made me pay back every penny with interest? Where was my help when I was working double shifts just to afford diapers and you bought Brendan a $15,000 truck? My mother flinched. We've always treated you all fairly. That's a lie, and you both know it. My father's face was pure fury now. How dare you speak to your mother that way? We raised you better than this. Did you? Because from where I'm standing, you raised me to accept scraps while Brendan and Haley got everything. You raised me to be useful, not loved. That's not true, my mother's voice cracked. We love all our children equally. Then prove it. Show me the bank records. Every check you've written to Brendan over the past 5 years. Every car payment you've covered for him. Every credit card bill you've paid for Haley. Let's add it all up and compare it to what you've given me. Silence. Neither of them said a word. That's what I thought. I started to close the door. My father slammed his hand against it. If you don't open this door right now and have a civil conversation, there will be consequences. What consequences? You can't threaten me anymore. You have no power here. We're your parents. We have every right to expect respect and support from our daughter. And I had every right to expect my parents to show up for their grandson's birthday. Guess we're both disappointed. I closed the door, locked the deadbolt, engaged T. He chain. Through the wood, I could hear my father shouting. This isn't over, Camila. You can't treat family this way. I walked to the kitchen, my whole body shaking. I poured myself a glass of water and tried to steady my breathing. Outside, I could hear my mother trying to calm my father down, their voices gradually fading as they presumably returned to their car. My phone started ringing. My father. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. A text came through. You're making a huge mistake. We're going to fix this whether you like it or not. What did that mean? I stared at the message, feeling deeply uneasy. Another text, this time from Brendan. What the hell is your problem? Dad just called me freaking out. You changed the locks on your apartment? That's seriously messed up. I typed back, the condo I bought. That I pay for. That's now entirely in my name. And maybe if you'd shown up for Theo's birthday, we wouldn't be here. Brendan. Theo's a kid. He'll have plenty of birthdays. My graduation only happens once. The audacity was absolutely staggering. I didn't respond. Within seconds, my phone rang again. Brendan this time. I let it go to voicemail. Then Haley called. I declined that too. A group text appeared. One that included my parents, Brendan, Haley, and me. My father had started it. Family meeting tonight at 6 o'clock at our house. Camila, you need to be there. This behavior stops now. I stared at the message. The presumption that I would just show up, that I would fall in line like always, made my blood boil. I typed no. Just that one word. My father. This isn't optional. Me, I'm an adult. It's absolutely optional, and I'm declining. Brendan, come on, Camila. Stop being so dramatic. Haley, we just want to talk. Why are you being so difficult? My mother, please, honey. Let's work this out as a family. I turned my phone on silent and set it face down on the counter. I couldn't deal with this anymore. Not right now. I called Destiny. Can I pick up Theo in an hour instead of now? I need a minute. Take all the time you need. He's having the time of his life. We're on cookie number 4. Thank you. I'll explain everything when I get there. I sat at my kitchen table and let myself cry. Not sad tears. Angry tears. Frustrated tears. Relieved tears. All mixed together into a confusing flood of emotion. I had just stood up to my father for the first time in my life. I had set a boundary and enforced it physically and verbally. But instead of feeling triumphant, I felt terrified. Because I knew this wasn't over. My father's text had promised consequences, and he always followed through on his threats. What scared me most was that I didn't know what those consequences might be. An hour later, I drove to Destiny's apartment to pick up Theo. He came running to the door with chocolate on his face and a huge smile that made my heart swell. Mama, we made so many cookies, and Auntie Destiny let me put extra chocolate chips in mine. I scooped him up, breathing in his little kid's smell of sugar and shampoo. That sounds amazing, buddy. Destiny pulled me aside while Theo gathered his things. How did it go? About as well as expected. He tried to use his old key, realized it didn't work, and completely lost his mind. I told them to leave. Now my entire family is having a collective meltdown via group text. Let me see. I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the messages, her expression growing darker with each screen. They're completely delusional, she said. Listen to this. We just want to talk. No. They want to bully you into submission. I know. Are you going to the family meeting? Absolutely not. Good. Don't give them that power. She handed back my phone. What do you think they'll do next? I honestly don't know. That's what worries me. Theo came bouncing back with his dinosaur tucked under his arm. Ready, Mama. We said goodbye to Destiny, and I drove Theo home. The whole drive, he chattered about cookies and how Annie Destiny taught him a new song about dinosaurs. His innocence, his pure joy, reminded me exactly why I was doing this. Not for me. For him. So he'd grow up knowing he deserved better than what I'd accepted. That evening at exactly 6 o'clock, my phone exploded with notifications. The family meeting had apparently started without me, and they were not happy about my absence. Brendan, seriously? You're really not coming? Haley, this is so disrespectful. My mother, we're all here waiting for you. Please reconsider. My father, your absence speaks volumes about your character. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I made dinner for Theo. Chicken tenders and green beans, his favorite. We ate together at the kitchen table, and he told me about a caterpillar he'd seen at school last week. It was this big, Mama. He spread his hands about 3 inches apart. Wow, that's huge. Yeah, and Mrs. Patterson said it would turn into a butterfly someday. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to hear more real-life lessons that might change your perspective. Remember to share this video with someone who might need to hear that their worth is not determined by what they can give to others. That saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. Thank you for listening, and may you find the clarity to recognize the true relationships in your own life. The ones worth keeping, and the ones you need to let go.